Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, Gyle here, and welcome back to the Forged Alliance Forever promotional series. Got a 1v1 ladder match for you guys and gals today, and not only that, there's absolutely no news or updates or intrigue to give you guys before the start of this one, so we're going to crack straight on with the action. It's a damn good thing too, because the players haven't left me any time. They're already gating in as we speak. The map is going to be Theta Passage, so let's head on over to the game zone and see how they're going to get on. Now, of course, Theta Passage, a map that's been around in the ranking ladder match situation for an age, needs no introduction, and to be honest, neither do our players, but they're going to get one anyway. Up here at the top right, in the red corner, we have Varro, formerly Congreve, going red UEF, and he's opening first land. A few PGens. Varro's popping up all over the shop at the moment. It's not just me that's casting in. TA for Life, Zayford, everyone who's casting seems to be getting the odd game in at the moment with this guy. It's purely because he's playing so much, and not only that, he's playing well and having interesting games against interesting people, which is what we'd like to see. And of course, we see that first factory selection, but we're not going to see a queue up of the next factories immediately, I shouldn't think. Usually the commander will come down here and help the hydrocarbon a little bit later on, and then you'll see either just before or after the whole bunch of factory spam go down, but that's why it'll be a little bit off. That's very typical of Thetas. And anyway, his opponent down here at the bottom left in the blue corner, also going UEF, is Crazed, so it's an all UEF affair. Crazed has also been playing a hell of a lot recently. He's been playing a lot of NG mod games, and as we saw, first one casted from me, well, first one in its current incarnation casted from me yesterday. I hope that little instructional or info bit was helpful. Anyway, he's going first land and then a whole bunch of land afterwards, and doing the atypical assistance on that hydro. Very meta, very normal, all very standard. And see the first little engagement kicking off in the middle. A couple of snoops exchanging some fire. And this snoop's actually going to run into a Mech Marine from Crazed, but a nice little right turn there keeps him alive. Mech Marine pursues for a little bit and then backs off, but Snoop's going to run into another Snoop and promptly get killed, I think. That's a very nice pickup there by Crazed. That Snoop's got one kill. Don't often see that. Something to tell the grandkids, whatever the grandkids of a Snoop would look like. But a nice bag of an engineer up here for another Mech Marine of Crazed. Denies that Mechs. He's now got a striker after him. That turns around, doesn't want to overextend for no good reason. Another couple of Mech Marines. This one didn't work out so well for Crazed. First one down, second one down. Engineer's still alive on 60 odd hit points. We've got a Snoop coming in as well, but a striker one-shots that. No problem, all very easy. Now we're seeing Crazed on the move with his ACU, a little bit ahead of Varro. So he's going to get a bit of an advantage grabbing these outlying mechs. Is going to pull ahead in eco a little quicker. I think this engineer up here as well also going to grab a mechs or two. We've got a few strikers on the ground that are going to go engineer hunting. The question is, will this NG manage to evade it? Meanwhile, down here at the bottom right, NG from Varro. Beautiful reclaim there. Snags one of the pursuing units, but doesn't manage to escape the rest coming in behind it. Little bit of a vanguard hit squad down here consisting of a Mech Marine Snoop and two strikers, but they turn around as they bump into a couple of opposing strikers from Crazed that are protecting this engineer. He's still safe, carrying on about his business, going to be able to pick those up with no problems whatsoever. Up here on the the left-hand side, Varro closing in with a few extra strikers, picking off the odd unit. Be nice if he can grab this mech. It looks like he's going to. Oh, just goes down. It's a nice little pickup, keeping things relatively even, although I say that 4 mass differential just decreased, in fact. Sorry, increased to a 8 mass differential there in favor of Crazed. Nice grab indeed, but that's gone back down, so it's fluctuating all the time. Now a few strikers into the middle of Crazed base. It's T1 all over the map for everybody right now. These guys doing their best to keep the raids up, doing their best to pick up as many engineers as possible. Point defense going to be placed down here on the right hand side for who is the question for Varro. That's at the end of a relatively large chain of mechs as those, so that might not necessarily make it to production. Now a few units outgunned and outmanned for Crazed down here, getting split by the cliff as well, although looking like he's backing off towards the middle as a few shots get fired. Varro focusing on the spam of Crazed. He's quite outnumbered actually at the moment, and now going down into the yellow. 6,000 hit points or so and falling. His own units are turning up to reinforce. So Varro actually doing on power, still on 4,000 power, so no power storage, energy storage there. Varro cannot be overcharging any more of that spam, but he's put enough distance now between his comm and Crazed's comm to survive that engagement without any significant risk, really. Still a relatively healthy 4,500 hit points on that ACU. Now Crazed's turn to make a run for it. Going to manage to pick up that engineer, and as we saw before, that was the one that was placing that PD, so this bottom aperture won't be secured as yet. Large body of spam moving up the left-hand side of the map now for Crazed. I suggest to him it'd be a wise idea if he pulls that through the aperture to try and secure on this side with a few more reinforcements. That looks like the plan. At least it looks like that's what he's after. Now a few groups of units on the left-hand side once again for Crazed. Just forcing Varro to be cautious, although Varro's brought his comm back into the fight. He's miles away from Crazed ACU, who's looking very healthy indeed on almost the full 12,000 HP. That would be a contentious point for Varro if that ACU was in the mix, but luckily for him it's not. He's going to be able to move up with his spam and deny this mass pump. Down it goes. A few well-placed overcharges here would be very nice indeed, but once again still no energy storage. It is still relatively early in the game, just 7.5 minutes gone. It's a very big feature of Theta's. Look how underdeveloped this all these bases are for this stage in the game compared to how you would see it in other maps. You just don't have the mass to expand quickly. Everything's got to go into killing power to try and run over your opponent as quickly as possible. Varro leading the charge there with his ACU, picking off a few units. Definitely hang around to finish off that mass pump. Is going to do so and now retreat up towards the top of the map. So middle of the map sort of more or less for the moment in Crazed's hands. Top of the map definitely in Varro's, and aperture being fought over quite intensely now. And luckily for Crazed, he's managed to grab a plasma cannon. It's been left alone for long enough. Very wise for Varro to switch up to that NG, but he's not going to do it in time. He's going to survive. That looks like a nice little hold down there for Crazed. He can feel a little bit happier about things down there. And he's actually making a little bit of a push up through the aperture and teaming up with some extra units he had from the middle to grab an engineer and another mechs. Question is, will he fall back? I suggest he probably will. That's quite a lot of units from Varro. Not going to want to hang about unnecessarily. And still no tech on the field as yet for Crazed. Let's take a look at how many factories we're dealing with here. So we're dealing with 8 factories on the ground for Crazed. How about Varro? We're dealing with 7. So 1 factory behind. Unless we're seeing some kind of early tech in place. Not for the moment. So still both on T1 for the moment. These guys not ready to make their transition. 3 mass apart in favor of Varro this time. So eco-wise, he's doing a little bit better than he was. Literally on the breadline for power, and that's the same for both of these guys. And it's so important, especially on a map like this, not to overspend on power. It's a classic newbie mistake if there are newbies watching. It's a very big temptation just to get an engineer or 2 and click and drag a line of T1 PGens. Think, well, then at least I'll have enough power and I won't have to think about it for the rest of the game. Yeah, that's all well and good, but if you build X amount more power than you need, all that power is being wasted. It's not gaining you anything in eco, and that's mass you could have spent on more tanks to go and kill your opponent with, and that's really, really crucial. Something I struggle with a great deal. So that's why when you see these guys, these pros, they are very much on the breadline until at least the mid-game, generally. But groups of units from Varro now pushing through that bottom aperture, managing to take out that PD, which is an annoyance for Crazed. Inclusion of Lobos in that mix there for Varro, helping to get that done, but Crazed definitely has enough to force Varro back. He's going to incur pretty heavy victories in that. the strange little graphical bugs sometimes you get in SOPCOM, the random shells floating through the air. But still, these 4 mass points completely unclaimed up at the top of the map. Crazed has managed to defeat those with a little bit of a run up onto that upper plateau. He's got his ACU in the area, and it looks like he's obviously got the T2 engineering suite on the ACU. There we go. And placing triads with it. So Crazed really making use of their UEF goodness. All that epic PD and static defense that they've got. And it's quite interesting to see 11 minutes gone. The game has slowed down somewhat, although there's another push happening now from Varro, who's also managed to get a T1 PD in place in response to that previous play from Crazed, only this time on the other side. Trying to secure this bottom ridge, always a good idea. It's such a common place for attacks, and this time Varro looking a lot stronger down here, and it looks like he's about to break through, and there's also a few units of build capacity in there that's going to go pop. They were working on the mass field, and away they go through. 1 mech's down, soon to be 2 mechs is down. Crazed has to draw all of those units that were clumped in the middle to repel this little attack, but still always worth it. That has dropped Crazed down below Varro in mass per tick, so definitely reclaiming the initiative, and that's despite the fact that Crazed has managed to grab 2 more of these mechs up here. Could potentially grab a hold of that one as well, also this one as well, so he's got 3 mechs and yet still behind on eco. Nice little play there from Varro, who's not actually going back through the aperture. He's going to hold fast for the moment. He's got a couple of units of build capacity now down here working on this mass field. It'd be a bad idea perhaps to get some PD on this side if you can hold Crazed away from the aperture and get onto this side of it. You can reinforce and not get caught out by the bottleneck, but it's going to be too late. Crazed now making a push, wanting to get Varro back on his side of the cliff face. I don't blame him. Those engineers will get owned. Down they go. So no anchorage on that side for Varro, and we are seeing now T2. We've got some Mongoose in the pack there for Varro, who's also got T2 build capacity or building suite on that commander. He's working on some triads of his own, so both these guys are locking down sections of the map. Crazed has got a nice little fire base down, and he's working on a TAC missile launcher as well and assisting it, wanting to get a few missiles in there before he starts firing the first volleys. That will keep Varro surprised, allow those missiles to get through. Not currently seeing any buzz kills on the map, so mass points vulnerable, factories vulnerable. Could do a lot worse than to take out that T2 factory if he scouted it. Still no T2 on the field in terms of factories though for Crazed. And you see that's the difference. Instead of going for T2 units, he's gone for a TAC missile launcher. Awful lot of mass energy required to go into that. It's going to be crucial to get the timing right on that. But now a large push coming through that bottom aperture, once again complete with Mongoose this time. So once again Varro going to gain the advantage on this bottom section of the map. All of those units standing guard there for Crazed have gone down. Once again, the mass points down here are in jeopardy. First one down, second one vulnerable. Mongoose still in play, going to be able to outrange a lot of this stuff. But TAC missiles away, flying straight over the head. Buzz kills immediately going down or being placed for Varro, going straight after the mass, supplying adjacency bonus to those factories, one of which was the T2, so that's quite a nasty kill there. Another one going straight for the back. T2 mass points are the key target here for Crazed. So 2 T2 mass points down. Varro's saying, I knew it. He was already working on that buzzkill, but he was just a little bit late. Another missile coming in, gets in before that buzzkill gets completed. There are some engineers in there assisting that T2 factory, but it goes down. That's a very serious kill there for Crazed. Nice work indeed. Finally the buzzkill's online, but it's just a little bit too late. The damage has been done, whilst simultaneously Crazed has managed to repel the attack down here, and he's looking quite strong in numbers, even though he hasn't teched up at all. I guess that's probably why he's strong in numbers. He hasn't expended mass and energy on an upgrade. I feel like he should do it soon though. There's quite a few T2 units on the field now. We've got pillars, we've got Mongoose, we've got skyboxes. The whole party, although he doesn't really need to be worrying about skyboxes really. One T2 air factory on the field at the moment for Crazed, just currently producing engineers. Not a single plane in the sky as far as I can see. But there won't be any more skyboxes for the moment anyway until he gets another factory upgraded. He's not currently working on that. He needs to get on with that ASAP. Another period of stagnation now where these players readjust to the strategies that their opponents have employed. Crazed working on yet more PD and stuff up here at the front. Wants to secure this section of the map, lock it down as best he can. Loads of units down here at the bottom aperture though. Varro definitely outgunned. There aren't that many Lobos in the mix though, which would be useful to help deal with this point defense cannon. There's a lot of T2 units on the other side of this cliff, and it's such a problem with the aperture. Getting through this bit here is the dangerous part. All your units bottleneck up. Artillery is exceptionally effective when landed in that nook, in that little crevice as they come through there. Makes it hard to cross, but it doesn't look like that's on Crazed's mind for the moment. He's literally on guard detail, doesn't want any more stuff coming through unchallenged from Varro. Wants to stay there and inflict maximum casualties on any units that are going to come through that little canyon. Crazed now working on some T2 power. He's going to get a shield gen next to it as well. Give himself some coverage up front. Protect all of those PDs placed down there, and a couple of buzzkills as well that he's managed to get in play to defend against any more TAC missile attacks. And he actually recycled, must have done, I can't imagine that's been taken out. He must have recycled that TAC missile launcher. And something you don't often see the newbies in this game do. You mustn't be a frightened newbies to use the buildings that you've constructed as a resource if you're not going to get any use out of them. If your opponent has countered them, there is no shame in recycling that mass and putting it into something else. It actually makes pretty good sense. You definitely see top players do that a lot with their factories at the moment. So we're not currently utilizing NGMod in any great way, shape or form. All these factories currently paused. Mass and energy been going into the T2 P-Gen and Shield Gen. Another triad going down at the front. Crazed looking to make that as secure as humanly possible. He locked down that section of the map. Finally, we've got a T2 upgrade down here in one of the factories for Crazed, so we're going to see some T2 units on the ground for him. Looks like Varro making a little bit of a push here. We've got some Riptides in there as well, not just Pillars and Mongoose. Riptides also very good against T1, although they are exceptionally expensive. Generally I don't bother with them myself unless I'm assaulting across water, going for that amphibious bonus. But now Crazed making a little maneuver into the middle. Was expecting a larger push, and had that occurred from Varro, he would have come in behind to try and sandwich those units. But Varro now moving a larger group of his units down here. So basically the majority of the units now at this bottom right hand corner or quadrant of the map. Up here, both Varro and Crazed literally just turtling. Varro on an upgrade as well. Take a look at what that is. Just a moment. Varro rolling forward. The Mongoose out in front. You can see the effect of that Lobo fire as those units bunch up on top of each other. So much more effective than it would be usually. And Varro taking a lot of casualties in there. Also feigning an attack in the middle, but he's going to withdraw. Now he's withdrawing on both fronts, and that was quite a poor engagement there for Varro. I think he lost unnecessary amounts of T2 in that. But still, Crazed doesn't really have the units on the ground to break through there. It's extraordinary how much of a static fight this has turned into, and Crazed is ignoring T2 land altogether, and he's going straight for T3. And finally, we have a new T2 factory online for Varro back at the main base, hooked back up to that T2 mass point that was previously destroyed by that TAC missile barrage. So Varro, having repaired the damage from earlier, of course he's not going to know this, but he's now down a tech grade. He said that's taken an awful lot of eco for Crazed to get that online. And Varro pushing hard and fast there with his commander. And must have been the gun upgrade we just saw on that. Yep, he's still without the T2 engineering suite. He's got the Zephyr amplifier there. So X amount more deadly. But we've got, what does that look like? Demolisher fire. There it is. T3 mobile RT based in the middle of Crazed structures, firing out at that spam from Varro. He's now making pretty serious encroachments with that commander. He does, of course, have access to overcharge, as you would expect at this stage in the game. Also, an engagement kicking off at the bottom right-hand corner. I think that's going to go too well for Varro. But Titans on the field, and they are going to mince all of this T1. Varro needs to get in here and start overcharging those Titans, remove that advantage ASAP. Huge quantities of T1 going pop there as the Demolisher lands decent amounts of fire down. In fact, was that Demolisher? Where's that Demolisher gone? Might have been popped, where that came from, but Crazed coming in and overcharging quite heavily from the top. Now these groups of units that have done pretty well at repelling everything that was coming through that aperture are going to get sandwiched with by the withdrawing troops from Varro, complete with commander as well. Heavy, tankier T2 units in this mix should be able to be, or should be enough, I should say, to get the better of Crazed units, which are now pinned up against the cliff. They're all going to go down. Varro moving his commander to the bottom right-hand side, and Varro now way ahead on eco in the 40s, plays the 30s, significantly ahead. Crazed, of course, losing 4 mass points down here at the bottom right. It's a lot of mass points to lose, especially on Theta, where mass is at a premium. But lots of T3 on the field now. Demolisher in place for Crazed. That last one must have gone pop. This one's got 0 kills. But 4 Titans. 5 Titans. Another one coming out, and they're just rolling off the factory now. Still primarily going for Titans. Not worrying about Percival's just yet. Makes sense. Hasn't seen any T3 from Varro, but it won't be long before he does, because Varro has seen that and has started the upgrade to T3 himself. Has got that online and is now working on a Demolisher of his own. Of course, excellent map for Demolishers. You can hide them in around here and just fire over the top. Excellent range that they have. You can see from that one down just how serious that is. If you placed it up against there, it would reach right into there. Pretty significant unit for this. Now Varro sort of skirting around the aperture at the bottom here with his commander. It's streaming back through. He wants to get back on his side. I don't really blame him, and the amount of units on the map for both of these guys has thinned out dramatically since their transition into T3, as you'd expect it. But obviously it's a reflection on how much has been killed as well in the battles. Nice overcharge there from Varro, picking up that straggler. Titan lagging behind, didn't want to be there at all. Now he's just sitting in the canyon here, hoovering up all the mass he can get his hands on. Nice move indeed. If you can come a little bit further forward, you can another overcharge in there to finish off that Titan. There it goes. Always wise to do that all day if at all possible. A very far forward T2 P-Gen going down for Crazed. Makes me wonder whether he's going for an adjacency bonus with a T2 shield gen. Rack that up against there and try and turn this into another secure area. Prevent anything coming through these 2 apertures, threatening his main base. Not a bad idea at all as far as I'm concerned. Demolisher now though from Varro, ranging, in fact 2 of them, complete with parashields in the area as well, trying to put some fire on this little fire base which Crazed was giving so much love and attention to earlier on. Got a spearhead as well, T3 mobile missile launcher out for Crazed, sitting in this middle aperture, just sort of happy as Larry, firing away. A useful unit as well, fire on the move. I don't know what direction they're facing. Don't really want to be firing in that direction because the buzzkill's not going to get an awful lot done there, but can certainly shut down this little area, take out this T1 PD, this mechs, this radar. Of course, still T1 mechs. The best mechs in the world to plow resources into for upgrading purposes. And then we've got a Percival on the field, so Crazed either just intuitively anticipating the T3 from Varro or has already seen it, so he's mixing it up. Spearhead going down, the other one gets out of dodge before his life gets terminated. Lobo's sitting up against the cliffs here, just firing over the top. I can't believe how static this game has become over the course of the last 5-10 minutes or so, but that is UEF mirror matchup. This kind of thing does happen. Not that it's a problem. I enjoy these battles just as much as any other. Bump it up to T3 though while we wait for the important action to take place. Varro moving in with his commander again. Straight after this Titan. Nice overcharge. Picks him up once again. This is a feature of Forged Alliance Supreme Commander in general that people don't always get, which is so awesome. You've got this unit, your ACU, which is essentially a pretty powerful unit in itself, but the overcharge makes it essential, keeps you, or makes you keep it on the front line to use that overcharge. But it is of course the objective of the game to get those killed, which means any time we are flying by the seat of your pants. We've got a little engagement now from Crazed. He's got a couple of parashields in the area, wants to get those Percivals covered, taking quite a lot of fire from Varro, and I think he's pretty badly outgunned. Wants to get back before he loses too much more. I think he finally agrees he's going to withdraw. Taking some fire though from behind, which is never fun. Crazed still working on yet more power. Just wonder what he's got planned. Taking a look at unit cap, see what these guys are actually at. 224 for Crazed, 251 for Varro, so plenty of room to maneuver still. Miles off it, they haven't been developing hugely. What battles have been taking place have eliminated quite a lot of the T1 that's been on the field over the course of this. 49 mass for Crazed versus 52 for Varro, so still a gap, however rather a more modest one than we've seen at other stages in this game. Both these guys just posturing now back and forward. Got a couple of spearheads and a couple of demolishers for Varro. These forward buzzkills doing their work as best they can, but they can't protect against that artillery fire, which is depleting that shield. And one of the forward buzzkills down now. Shield depleted. It's going to go down, and this base is history. Buzzkill down, shield down, completely vulnerable. Those demolishers, those spearheads can just finish that off without any problems. But Crazed is going to push through the middle, the forward middle aperture. And Varro's actually on the other side of these units, which are quite heavily shielded, but these are all Titans and not Percivals, so they're going to lack that punching power, I think. They're going to go straight after Varro, though, and try and shed as many hit points from him as possible. If you can keep those spaced out, that would be ideal. Prevent the overcharge from doing exactly what it just did, taking out multiple units. But now we've got the odd Percival coming in, going straight after Varro. This is purely a hit point shedding exercise. Crazed knows he's not going to get a kill here, but he took him down to 8,500 hit points, which is nice to see. We've got an upgrade on the way for Crazed. Take a look at what we're looking at here, and that's quite interesting. Could that be... probably going to be the middle upgrades, I'm guessing. It is. It's the personal shield. So Crazed is now very tanky and effective hit point range of, what is that, 39,000 hit points, plays 10,000 at the moment Varro's on, so way ahead. So if there comes to any point in the future we're going to get these ACU conflicts kicking off once again, Crazed is going to have a significant advantage, and now he's leading the charge with his ACU. What else has he got on there exactly? He's got the T2 engineering suite, he's got the gun upgrade, he's got the personal shield generator. That is quite the beast. He's getting in there, overcharging multiples of units. He needs to stay in front. His targeted priority are going to be these Percival's. Needs to get rid of them. They're the biggest threat to him. You can see the amount of shield they're shedding. Going to slow this down to normal game speed. Percival's coming in point blank range. He's got some of his own Percy's coming in to back him up. Nice overcharge there, picking off one of those Percival's from Varro. Other overcharge needs to be placed down on these Percy's. Varro coming in from behind, but he looks woefully ill-equipped to deal with Crazed ACU. Thankfully for him, he's got enough spam for the moment. Look at these demolishers. Excellent range, excellent coverage. Going to have to withdraw though. It looks like there's a bit of a push happening on the left-hand side of the map now for Crazed. Lots of build capacity just sort of stranded down here, not on any reclaim mission or anything like that. The mech's looking like it's going to go down. There it goes. A whole bunch of build capacity, very vulnerable over here on the left, and Crazed is going to go straight after it. Doesn't want any more reclaiming happening if he can avoid it. Varro looking to shed a few more hit points off that shield from Crazed. He's backing away, but of course every shot that goes down is landing on Varro's armor, or hull, whichever one it would be. A couple of parashields in the mix as well now near the aperture, and that could give Crazed excellent coverage. How that shield re-engages. And Varro on the back foot here, despite being ahead en masse, is completely outgunned by Crazed ACU, who's literally going Rambo right now. Right at the front on this, a lovely demonstration of how to use your comm and how powerful upgraded commanders can be, even at the 39-minute mark of a game. Of course, the tech progression in this particular game has been slow because it's been close, and that's generally the way of things. The Percival down for Varro. Varro coming in now looking a lot more healthy. He's in the green on around 16,500 HP, but look at that, 17,000 hit points for Crazed ACU. Shield just about at full to re-engage. There it goes. Bam. Shield back in place. And Varro forced back under the shields. Crazed pursuing an awful lot of build capacity, and they're trying to get some triads up, but absolutely not managing it, failing hard, getting overcharged, it looked like, which is quite strange because the shields still seem to be up. But Varro surely just getting run over now. He's got some reinforcements of his own coming in to try and deal with these units from Crazed. Nice overcharge there, picking up large groups of those units from Crazed. And I think they're going to manage to finish off all the spam. Crazed is really far forward with not a lot of help suddenly. He needs to continue to work on the Percivals with overcharge, which is what he's doing. He needs to keep that threat down to a minimum. The T1 on the field for Varro, not really a threat to Crazed at the moment, not with that shield coverage he's got. Another Percival down, and despite the fact that he's alone, there's a lot of enemy units in the area. He needs to just keep pushing. There's no reason for him to back up. There's nothing in the area that can really cause him any problems. The Percivals are rolling off one at a time, and he can just overcharge those as they come in. He'll take one or two shots at a time. Needs to overcharge this one. Another one down. There goes the overcharge. Bam. He can come in. He can take out these P-gens. Stop the shield from going up. Doesn't need to be backing out here at all. Air units on the field. Lots of air units out for Varro, but unnecessary. There are no risks in the air from Crazed right now. It's a lot of mass and energy that's been spent unnecessarily from Varro, who's now coming to the edge of the shield. Wants to deplete this comm shield on Crazed a little bit more. He's got protection from that T2 shield gen behind him, overcharging him as well. But Crazed can just afford to take it right now, and he's moving in with more reinforcements of his own, which he's just built up. Varro looking very exposed. His shield's about to run out. There it goes. Down the shield goes, won't be recharging. He goes down into the red, 3,500 hit points and retreating. Nice overcharge there, 2,300. He calls GG, but he's still alive. 1,800 hit points and falling. Crazed shield is virtually depleted once again, but he's going to be able to finish off all of these T2 P-gens. Nice overcharges, still picking up the Percivals as they wander in. Once again, almost all of Crazed's units have gone down. He doesn't need them. This commander's just getting the work done all day. And he just looks invincible right now. There isn't anything on the field that can contend with him. Varro needed more base defense in his main base. Didn't have enough. But neither of these players really committed to the main base defense in any way, shape or form. I think if they had, it would have been an instant lose because they would have lost map control too early if they'd have made that expenditure. And it really was that shield upgrade on the comm that Crazed managed to get out, which really won him this game. And what saved the game as well, I think, for him on another sense was that TAC missile launcher over here. Varro's still trying to stay in this. He's got a Ravager up. He's trying to get the power supply sorted back in his main base. You can see him bottlenecking on power hard. Minus 733 net. Not doing him any favors at all. But damage is done. Map control is ceded. Having said that, Crazed is only a little bit marginally ahead on mass. He hasn't really been keeping up with the mass upgrades. You can see Varro's been placing storage around his mass points. Crazed hasn't bothered to do that. It's kept him in this. He's got some power troubles, but he's sorting them out nice and quickly. But he needs to litter this area in PD, and I'm not sure Crazed is going to give him the opportunity. He's walking forward, hoovering up as much of the mass as he can on the way. A nice overcharge in here would finish off all this build capacity. Oh, do it! Do it! He's not even going to bother. He's just going to pop them one at a time. 171 kills currently on that comm. Nice overcharge in here. Takes out the forward Percy. And another one for the rear one. Another Ravager going down under shield coverage. But this upper section of the base incredibly vulnerable. And Varro still on only 9,000, 10,000 HP is about to get swarmed, I think. Down into the red. Lots of Percys on the field for Crazed, going straight after Varro's comm. Varro backing away. He's not going to get out of this, surely. 500 HP. Target selection changes momentarily, but his base will be in tatters nonetheless. Crazed wandering in here down the bottom. Shield at the bottom goes down, and finally one volley from the pursuing Percivals of Crazed finishes Varro off. Very nicely done indeed. Well played. Hope you enjoyed that, guys. I certainly did. As always, more to come in the future. But in the meantime, guys, stay well and stay safe. This is Gyle signing out.